Okay, good evening, everybody. Incidentally, we are now on chapter 2 of the Tides of War. I had sort of misunderstood how this works. Also, welcome. This is Battlefield 5. I will not be spending much time in the multiplayer and all of that business. But I wanted to sort of cover a little bit about what's going on. One thing that's very interesting to me about Battlefield 5, and I sort of touched on this last cast, so I think that would be about a week ago. I'm pleasantly surprised by how engaged I am in the multiplayer. I am primarily a single player gamer when it comes to sort of first-person shooters and such. And I liked Battlefield 1 quite a bit, but I will admit my playtime in the multiplayer was not that high, and it's non-existent in Battlefield 3 and 4. I've never played anything earlier than that. At least I don't think I have. Apparently Bad Company is supposed to be the one that everybody likes. But I have really enjoyed playing multiplayer in this. It is occasionally very frustrating when you have a team that doesn't respond to anything. And, you know, there'll be little things like people not rezzing you in a fairly safe zone. But these frustrations are going to exist anywhere else. And I will admit, I think this is intentional, and I'm not crazy about how I sort of feel on the treadmill on this, but Tides of War is definitely giving reasons to keep playing. So I didn't complete all of the missions here. You start off so forward, week 1, December 5th to December 12th at 11:15 a.m. on September 3rd, 1939, the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain announced that Britain was at war with Germany. This followed the German refusal to withdraw their troops from Poland. The British Parliament enacted the National Service Act, calling on all able-bodied residents to be conscripted into the armed forces, as well as volunteer for essential work to support the war effort. In kind, Germany and its allies took similar measures. So, you're given a number of tasks to perform over this week. So the first one is self-healing, restore your own health 10 times with bandages. And then you were given a path. You could do a healer route, so supply teammates 20 times with bandages. Need ammo, supply teammates 20 times with ammo pouches. And if you did not want to play a medic or a support character, those are the only two that can provide bandages and ammo respectively, re-engage. So resupply bandages or ammo 10 times at a resupply station. Now, one drawback for this came from the second phase of the healer and support. In order to get this achievement, you only needed to take ammo or health from any resupply station, and this includes the ones that are at the capture points. And this is a very different prospect from what the support and healer classes would want, because your next phase as a healer or a support player is to put down crates. So for medical crate, heal teammates for 400 health points by deploying medical crates, and you get 7,400 chapter experience for that. Or likewise, ammo crates. Supply ammo to 12 team members by deploying an ammo crate. Now, it is much easier to get this one as a support because ammo is very scarce in this game. I actually think that's also a good and interesting decision that they made in multiplayer. But I really got to know how to play a medic on this segment, and as you can see, I'm just slightly over halfway. Nobody seems to use these medic crates, and even then you could completely tell that other people were trying to get this achievement as well, because whenever you would put down a crate, some guy would go and put one right on top of it in hopes that, you know, the trigger hit theirs rather than yours. So that's one of the things that I did notice about these some of these achievements. It was very clear when people were sort of moving around to try and, you know, earn achievements rather than help the team. So eventually I went for Break It, destroy 10 fortifications. This was also one where you could definitely see some selfish play happening, because you would build these fortifications, and sure enough, some guy comes by with dynamite, blows up their own fortifications in hopes of getting this particular achievement. So didn't really always result in necessarily the kind of play that you would want to see in this kind of an environment. But that's it. I mean, this is not the only multiplayer game that has less than desirable behavior on the part of allies. You just live with it, right? The ammo crate one I thought was reasonably well done, though. There's always going to be a need for ammo. So and the big thing here is I just don't know how you're supposed to incentivize people to use these crates. I mean, maybe if you make these things not count the base ones, but then you don't have an incentive to build the base ones other than wanting to win the game. And then this one, I mean, destroy 10 fortifications, enemy fortifications. I mean, that would make sense, but how do you define an enemy fortification? Not all of the fortifications you can build, I believe, are in areas that you've captured. And if there happens to be a fortification in an area that you are contesting, does that count? There's lots of different ways that you can complain about this sort of stuff. And in the end, the problem lies with the players. Like if you have somebody who is going to put their, 14,500 chapter XP over, winning the game, you're just going to have to live with that. Hello, the Eyes of Sin. You might be the only person here. Hey, Domi, how you doing? Hello, you missed the stream. Not a problem at all. I'm glad to have you here. I sent you a Twitter message. Actually, this is one that I can mention to all of you. I am not yet booted out as a GOG partner. You can still use the affiliate link below, but this isn't even for anything that you'd pay for if you do not have Full Throttle, the adventure game that I did a replay of, a video replay on Monday. If you do not have that game yet, it is available for free on GOG.com for at least another 24 hours. Let me actually double check how long that will be up for. So GOG.com, free Full Throttle Remastered is available for 12 and a half hours. So if you've not gone to GOG.com, let me actually get that link in chat right now. Sorry guys, we will be getting into the game shortly, but seeing as there's a free game, I figure you'd all probably enjoy grabbing that. So all right. Yeah, not a problem at all, Domi. So if you guys follow that link in chat, so that is my affiliate link. If you just go to GOG.com, obviously, if you're like listening to this video or that, although keep in mind it'll be within the next 12 hours, there's a giveaway for Full Throttle. Now, if you use that link and you happen to buy something else, this just simply means that I'm going to wind up getting a small percentage of your purchase into mine. So if you do happen to see something that you want to buy during that sale, that helps me out. But if you really don't want to use that, obviously you can just go to GOG.com, and for the next 12 hours you are going to be able to get a copy of Full Throttle, a wonderful adventure game, which I was playing. I wasn't playing on Monday. I was revisiting the stream that I did some time ago with it. And I think I'm actually going to play that game again, because I promised quite some time ago that I would do a playthrough where I did all of the voices. So if you haven't played it, it's probably the best LucasArts adventure game, at least out of the 2D ones. I know some people really like Grim Fandango as well. But do take advantage of that, because even if GOG doesn't have me in their partner list after January, I suppose, that's fine. You're just denying them money by taking something free. So tell your friends, get as many copies as you can. I'll just finish this review of the first week. So the next one was Fortify Defenses. I think this makes a lot of sense. Build 10 fortifications near a controlled flag. This is probably offsetting the Break It achievement. Now, I really wanted to get the Snowgoob achievement, build a snowman, 30,000 chapter XP, worth a lot, but for some reason I couldn't build one. I don't know if it was bugged or if it was specifically designed to be difficult to do, but that didn't happen, so that was a shame. Then there's hold the fort, kill an enemy with stationary weapons. I built a lot of stationary weapons, but I didn't really want to sit in a base and just wait for somebody to come and fire it. I do tend to try and win the games that I'm in, and again, you could always see, the people who were who are just trying to get the achievement. They just kind of park in a machine gun for a while, hoping that an enemy would come by. And then finally, there's the VGO, and I have no idea how you're supposed to get this thing, and I'll probably never find out. So we are on to week 2. So first one is Buddy Revive. If you're playing Assault Support or Recon, you need to revive 6 squad mates. Earn Best Squad, I don't think I'm ever going to get this one. My individual performance is usually right in the middle or below, but I do have a reasonably high win rate, and this is because I usually try to go for objectives. But I'm not very good at... I'm usually not very good at the actual firefights. Stay with me, revive 10 teammates using the syringe, or enemy spotted, spot 15 enemies while using the spotting scope. I think I'm going to try and go for this one because I haven't played a lot of Recon, and as you know, my sniping ability is 50-50. Stick together, complete 5 squad orders. This I think is great. I really like playing squad leader, and I like it when there's a squad that really follows through on this sort of stuff. Call in 1 reinforcement as squad leader, focus fire, assist your squad mates, or kill 15 enemies. Ooh, that'll be good. Look up as a squad, kill 2 enemies with a V1 or JB2 reinforcement, and then apparently I can get the rat burner, and I have no idea how to do that. But these definitely seem more straightforward. But the thing that's really neat about this too, so this is the overture, and you'll notice that this is really just something that's kind of teaching you how to play the game. I'll ignore week 3, but yeah, it's kind of neat to see the game sort of structured this way, and that's the Tides of War. It's probably the main thing that's been getting me playing in multiplayer, and definitely the game is really... I think the game is very well done, well structured, and I'm looking forward to playing some more of it. Although I don't know, I'd be interested in knowing if some of you guys are interested in seeing more... or interested in seeing, like, once I'm done the war stories, I'd be interested in knowing if you would like to see multiplayer. I'm personally not that crazy about showing multiplayer, but if you are interested in seeing me play a multiplayer game, I am not so, nervous about you seeing how bad I am at it, that I would turn off the possibility. Anyways, I've talked enough. We're probably about almost 15 minutes in. I'd like to hang out a bit for Domi to be able to see from the very beginning. But let me check with all of you, Eyes of Sin, Ragnus Domi, all of you who are hanging out in chat. What did you do today? Are you looking forward to Battlefield 5? What new? By the way, I don't really know what to do at the end of this story. I've usually had something thematic to talk about that I know about World War II. There might be one thing I can talk about at the end of The Last Tiger, but there's not a lot that I know about. Well, I said that about the last 3 stories as well, so I'm sure we'll have something to talk about. But yeah, this is one that I'm going in especially blind for because I don't have... Oh, lovely, Domi. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it, and I don't know if Sin is away from the keyboard or just not in the channel anymore, but I hope she doesn't miss too much if I hit play. The Last Tiger, 1945. Command a Tiger 1 in the last stand against U.S. forces as they push towards the Rhine. Fight a defensive battle without hope from the command seat of one of the most feared vehicles of the war. Oh, grand. Yeah, I know. Oh, that's cool, Domi. Yeah, I don't know. I think the two of you alone would be enough for me to want to sustain a Battlefield 5 stream. So I hope you guys enjoy this. And my day was quite good. Work is still tough, but there's definitely been a realization of the effort that I'm putting in. And I think in the long term, within the next year, I think I am going to wind up in a very good position with work. So that's good news there. And I got myself a coffee, so. Here we go. Rhine-Ruhr region, Germany. Spring 1945. General Bradley's 12th U.S. Army Group presses the borders of Germany. It is the largest U.S. Army formation ever to take the field. 17,000 tanks, 28,000 aircraft, and 4.5 million soldiers press eastward. Meanwhile, Germany lies in disarray, and I don't know the rest of the dialogue. The Tiger tank is a legendary war machine. Allied guns can barely scratch the thick steel skin. Few enemies can survive the Tiger's bite, an 88mm cannon that destroys most Allied tanks with a single shot. Germany constructed 1347 Tigers. The U.S. produced almost 50,000 Sherman tanks. A Tiger crew would often run out of ammunition before the enemy ran out of something. I'm sorry, guys. It's a lot faster than the previous ones. Oh, I very often do drink coffee. I got a special one before the stream today. So actually, I also got a lemon tart, so I really spoiled myself. They rush through the titles and then make me wait. Make me wait in the menu.
Als ich ein Kind war, wurde eine Gruppe von Jungs im Dorfladen beim Klauen erwischt. Mein Vater war außer sich, als er davon erfuhr. Aber ich habe doch gar nichts gestohlen. Vielleicht, sagte er. Aber du warst dort. Mein Name ist Peter Müller. Kommandant des Tigerpanzers 237. Und ich war dort.
Ist doch sowieso bald alles vorbei. Müller! Sagen Sie mir, dass wir Nachschub kriegen. Und einen neuen Funker.
Das wäre gelogen, Kerz. Ich lüge niemals, das wissen Sie.
Das ist sehr anständig von Ihnen, Kommandant.
Tja. Kommandanten können Sie es eben im Gegensatz zu Fahren nicht leisten, jeden Mist auszusprechen, der in den Sinn kommt, Schröder.
Ja, Kommandant.
Auf Ihre Position.
Muss der dir eigentlich die ganze Zeit hinterherlaufen wie ein streunender Hund?
Er ist noch ein Kind.
Dann hast du ihm ja bestimmt die Parteilinie erklärt.
Ich habe ihn nur daran erinnert, wer wir sind, Kerz.
Vertrau auf unsere Stärke. Vertrau auf Deutschland. Vertrau auf uns. Und?
Kerz, los geht's.
Warum sprengen wir nicht einfach die Brücke und halten die Amis auf der anderen Seite?
Weil wir uns nicht zurückziehen. Wir rücken vor.
Was passiert mit denen? Die kriegen das, was sie verdienen. Scheiß Feiglinge.
Gemeinsam sind wir stärker, vergessen Sie das nicht.
Anton 1, vorrücken und unsere Streitkräfte am Bahnhof unterstützen. Anton 1, rücken Sie umgehend zum Bahnhof vor.
Okay, just give me one quick second here. I want to turn the volume up so I can destroy my my eardrums. That's a real. I loved the opening lines of this one. The story of the tank commander's father disciplining him for the crime that he didn't commit but was present for. I think that's a really great way to start this story. Okay.
Befehl bestätigen, Hartmann.
Ja, Kommandant. Anton 1 an Oberkommando gehen jetzt in Position. Anton 1 geht jetzt in Position.
Alles klar. Aufbruch.
Jawohl, Kommandant.
Guten Tag, Johnny Big Time.
Herz, nach rechts. Wir müssen sie flankieren.
Jawohl, Kommandant. Sie scheinen sich schnell zu nähern, Kommandant.
Sie beide halten die Augen offen, damit uns das nicht auch passiert.
Geladen und bereit.
Infanterie auf 12 Uhr. Feuer eröffnen.
Fuck, make way.
Brechen Sie durch die Barrieren, Kerl.
Dir gefällt das nicht? Sei stark, Hartmann. Befolg einfach deine Befehle.
Sieht gut aus.
Anton 1 an Oberkommando. Schienen sind frei von Feinden.
Gute Arbeit, Anton 1. Wir wussten gegen einen Triebwagen keine Chance. Rücken Sie jetzt auf der Hauptstraße vor. Helfen Sie der Infanterie.
Sie haben es gehört, Kerz.
Jawohl.
I didn't hear what he said. All right, let's try that again. Ah!
Weiter auf der Straße. Zerstören wir ihre Verteidigungen.
Die Amerikaner laufen davon. Stefan hat ihn.
Ah! There be no repairs.
Artillerie.
Anton 1, schalten Sie die Artilleriestellungen auf dem Hauptplatz aus. Ich wiederhole, alle Artilleriestellungen müssen zerstört werden.
Befehl bestätigen, Hartmann.
Jawohl. Oberkommando hier, Anton 1. Befehl bestätigt. Rücken jetzt zum Ziel vor.
I have a degree in panzer driving, not navigation. Apparently not in aiming either.
Wir werden es nicht schaffen.
Still not reloading. A flaming Tiger tank. There is an achievement for not repairing.
Artillerie anvisieren.
Wir haben hier eine Menge Gegner, Kommandant.
Make way!
Ich werde meine Mutter stolz machen.
Okay, so now I know roughly where I need to go. It's possible that on this difficulty, this is not a mission you can win without repairing,
Wir haben hier eine Menge Gegner,
but I will give it a try.
Gnade und Schwäche. Ich werde meine Mutter stolz machen.
General Bradley is a pussycat.
Der Treffer!
Oh, that's so much better.
Artilleriestellung zerstört. Jetzt die
I wonder if I can... I wonder if I can get the distance point from being like way back here. It's a hard target, but...
Das war die letzte Artilleriestellung.
12 Uhr!
Ach!
Feind zerstört.
Genau vor uns!
Anton 1. Feindliche Panzerdivision versucht, den Platz zu umstellen. Sofort angreifen und abwehren.
Mein Gott, das ist eine Falle! Mein Gott, Schnauze, Hartmann!
Wir können sie nicht abhängen. Kerz, sehen Sie zu, dass wir immer irgendeine Deckung haben. Schröder und Hartmann, Sie feuern nur, wenn Sie ein Ziel haben.
Boah, das Ding gefällt mir gar nicht. Was ist das?
Keine Ahnung. Soll ich ihn in die Luft jagen, Kommandant?
Oh, that is so good. I don't know if you guys saw that, but just to see the building collapse in response to that that shot.
Die Panzerdivision versucht, den Platz zu umstellen. Sofort angreifen und abwehren.
Mein Gott, das ist eine Falle! Mein Gott, Schnauze, Hartmann!
Kerz, fahren Sie von Deckung zu Deckung.
Let me turn my panzer.
Jeder Schuss sitzt. Raketenwerfer!
Nein! Nein, nein, nein!
Whew, that's going to be a tough one to deal with, I think. But yeah, incidentally, for those of you who get frustrated by me playing on the heavy difficulty and not letting you see the story, what I'm going to do is sort of a... I'm going to do sort of a return to Battlefield or sort of a more cinematic take on Battlefield.
Sehen Sie zu, dass wir immer irgendeine
And the way I'm specifically going to handle it is everything. So basically, I'm going to do all of the missions again, and it's going to be on the normal difficulty. So in that case, we'll basically, it's not going to be so much for the experience of playing the game at a higher difficulty. It's going to be more about appreciating the stories. So you'll be able to see all four of them. Yeah. This is probably gonna take me a little while, but yeah, basically it's gonna be a day where we go through all of the stories and see them as a continuity, as opposed to these long breaks like what we're gonna experience. I mean, with that in mind, I'm not gonna dawdle. I'm gonna do my best to take this thing out, but.
Mein Gott, Schnauze, Hartmann!
Kerz, fahren Sie von Deckung zu Deckung. Schröder, Hartmann, ich will, dass jeder Schuss sitzt. Scheiße!
Schuss hat gesessen! Scheiße! Die Panzerung gibt nach! Sie nehmen Stefan auseinander!
Yeah, this is gonna be a bit of a challenge, just because the way that this is structured, they can always get flanking shots. So I think I'm gonna start with the aim here. Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, playing on the heavy difficulty is not the worst thing in the world because it lets me fill up a cast.
Sehen Sie zu, dass wir immer in deine Deckung haben. Schröder, Hartmann, Sie feuern nur, wenn Sie ein Ziel haben.
Yeah. See, those kinds of flanks are enough to ruin my day.
Die Lenkung hat man abgekriegt.
Sie sind getroffen, fahren aber noch.
Nicht gut. Nicht gut.
Okay. That's one achievement down.
Die Panzerdivision versucht, den Platz zu stellen. Sofort angreifen und abwehren.
Mein Gott, das ist eine Falle. Mein Gott,
Oh, I'm a
Schnauze,
sitting
Hartmann.
duck here.
Fahren Sie von Deckung zu Deckung. Schröder, Hartmann,
Yeah, see, I really can't afford starts like this.
Volltreffer. Noch ein Treffer und das war's. Scheiße, die Panzerung bricht.
This thing steers like a cow. All right. So that time I got caught on some scenery. I'll see if I can dodge that. The real problem is that on this side there's some pretty wicked flanks. So I think what I'm going to try and do here is
Mein Gott, Schnauze, Hartmann.
wir können Sie nicht abhängen. Kerz, sehen Sie zu, dass wir immer irgendeine Deckung haben.
okay. There's some possibilities here.
Sie feuern nur, wenn Sie ein Ziel haben.
Schirme mit Raketenwerfer.
Okay, that's one down. Now everything I need to worry about is sort of in front of me.
Auf die Gebäude.
So the important thing here is that I'm able to trade shells with these guys as long as I'm facing them. It's only when they... Oop, that was a bad shot.
Fahren Sie uns in
Yikes.
Deckung. Wir haben nicht viel Zeit.
Getroffen.
This is gonna be bad. Yeah, I missed too many of those shots. And part of that, I fell into a building again. Maybe. I think I can get it though. Like that was a good run, save for the fact that I didn't quite manage the.
Fahren Sie von Deckung zu Deckung. Schröder, Hartmann, ich will, dass jeder Schuss sitzt.
Vollends Schwarze.
Okay. So that's a tough. It's a tough start.
Bestätige Treffer.
Okay, there we go.
Was ist los?
Yeah. I basically need to make sure that I keep enough territory between me and the left-hand side because I think I'm a little too slow at at taking out these other guys on the side here. So that was a bit of a chancy one.
Mein Gott, Schnauze, Hartmann.
Wir können Sie nicht abhängen. Kerz, sehen Sie zu, dass wir immer
Okay, so I need to turn this thing the right way. Oh, this is not a good
Sie
start.
feuern nur, wenn Sie ein Ziel haben.
There it
Suchen Sie
is.
uns Deckung. Schnell.
Okay, this is too much damage though, so I'll do my best, but there's really no expectation to win at this point. Yeah. But yeah, so basically that's roughly a model of how it goes. I either need to get a lot better at taking out the guy. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to try something a little different. So I'm going to turn like this, but I'm going to actually try and go on a firefight
Mein Gott, das ist eine Falle. Mein Gott,
on this end.
Schnauze, Hartmann.
Kerz, fahren Sie von Deckung zu Deckung. Schröder, Hartmann, ich will, dass jeder Schuss...
So I don't think I actually, I don't think I got any hits, but
Sie nehmen Stefan auseinander.
This is slightly better.
Schuss! Nein! Nein, nein, nein! Treffer!
That's too much damage for me to handle. Huh. Alright. Well, you know what? Maybe I will try it the other way around. I still think I think it still makes more sense for me to go to the right-hand side because there's more guys to do the damage.
Sofort angreifen und abwehren!
Mein Gott, das ist eine Falle!
Gott, Schnauze, Hartmann!
Wir können sie nicht abhängen. Kerz, sehen Sie zu, dass wir immer irgendeine Deckung
Okay, that's good news. So I gotta take a hard right to make sure that they don't do any serious damage. Notice we really haven't taken that much right now. Okay, there we go. This is promising.
Fahrzeug da!
Oh, too early.
Scheiße! Die Panzerung gibt nach!
Sichtkontakt zum Fahrzeug!
weiter feuern.
Not much I could have done with that.
Einheit. Rücken Sie zum Sammelpunkt vor und attackieren Sie alle Feindeinheiten, denen Sie begegnen. Danach drängen Sie die feindlichen Truppen aus der Stadt zurück.
Kerz, bringen Sie uns zu dieser Position.
Ja, Kommandant. Der macht Kampf!
Again, just look at that building come down. I know it's cool to hate on like big budget games and stuff like that, but it is, I think, really neat that we're at a point where you can see stuff like that. Oop. Okay, I will admit, it is not that easy to tell where the where the combat area is in this. You're kidding me. I mean, I guess it makes sense that these guys were running over this side, but
So viel Zerstörung.
Wir müssen den Masoren aus der Stadt jagen.
Guten Tag! I also, it takes some getting used to, but I really like the fact that the turret has a delay to it as well.
Feuer! Feuer!
Getroffen!
Weiter auf das Ziel feuern!
Treffer bestätigt.
I should be trying to flank these things, but
Sie haben keine Chance gegen Tiger.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Domi, they're Americans, so.
Kerz! Bringen Sie uns zur Brücke!
Was? Was sagt ihr da? Seid ihr verrückt? Wir dürfen den Angriff nicht abbrechen.
Das ist Selbstmord. Wir werden alle draufgehen. Seht ihr das denn nicht? Wir werden hier nur sterben. Das sind einfach zu viele.
Make way for the Panzer!
Herrgott, nochmal.
Ruhe! Alle! Halten Sie den Mund. Wir sind gleich an der Brücke. Machen wir einfach unsere Arbeit. Scheiße!
Oof. This is not gonna go well for me in a minute. need a better aim at that if I'm gonna survive.
Erwischt! Wir werden es nicht schaffen!
Fight, Hartman! Oh, I just screwed myself. I almost got it, but... So this is one of the tricks, is that this thing moves very slow, but there is a huge advantage to being able to get flanking shots on people. Normally when I play games... oh, that's an allied vehicle. Never mind.
Die Panzerung hat den Schutt einfach abgefangen!
Sie dürfen nicht zurückschießen.
Yeah, so getting the... Captain Shield, thank you very much for the host. So yeah, getting the flanking shot on people will make all the difference, but it kind of comes with this risk of, or not this risk, but like it comes with this fact that this vehicle is not made for dexterity.
Verdammt!
Yeah, I'm not a good German though. I don't always do what I'm told. Oh, this is gonna hurt.
9 Uhr! Fahrzeug da!
Yes! Deutschland über alles!
Noch mehr Shermans!
Das sind so viele Herren im Himmel. So viele!
Panzer, weil wir haben einen Tiger.
Scheiße, das ist nicht gut!
Question for both of us, you say? Yeah, actually, Domi made a good point that I'm not making so much progress because I'm insisting on not repairing the Tiger in the name of an achievement, and it creates challenges.
Wie viele Panzer haben die wohl?
Ganz ruhig. Wir schaffen das. Sollen sie nur kommen.
Bestätige Treffer! Ziel getroffen! Feuer! Sie sind in diesem Gebäude! Wir werden
That
es
one
nicht
to
schaffen.
the right is going to be the death of me. Please continue to expose your side.
Das ist nicht gut!
At least I made the checkpoint. What was the question, Captain Shield?
Sind die anderen Panzer?
Jetzt sind wir auf uns gestellt. Gerz, wir rücken vor. Fahren wir.
Jemand an? Roter Rauch!
Auf Schäden überprüfen.
Jawohl.
Statusbericht. Hier werden wir uns nicht lange halten können. Jemand muss da raus uns einen Weg suchen.
Schicken Sie Hartmann.
Wovon zur Hölle reden Sie da? Der Mann ist nicht in der Verfassung.
Vertrauen Sie auf unsere Stärke. Das waren doch eure Worte, oder? Keine Schwäche, keine Sentimentalitäten.
Verdammt nochmal.
Sie sind zu wichtig. Das können wir nicht riskieren. Und ich bediene das Geschütz.
Dann mache ich das eben.
Nein, Sie müssen fahren. Aber Hartmann, der ist doch eh eingeschlagen. Austauschbar.
Wollen Sie ihn wirklich da rausschicken?
Hartmann!
Ja?
Steigen Sie aus dem Panzer. Suchen Sie uns da draußen einen Weg ins Freie.
Herrgott nochmal, Müller, nein, der Mann ist nicht in der Verfassung.
Bitte, Peter. Ich kann wirklich...
Raus aus dem Panzer, Hartmann. Ich möchte, dass Sie Ihre Pflicht tun.
This is very
Das
Das
gilt für
Boot.
jeden hier.
Wo ist Hauptmann? Wo ist der hin?
Der desertiert.
Das wissen Sie doch gar nicht.
Ruhe! Hören Sie das?
Bewegung auf 9 Uhr.
Und auf 12 Uhr.
Bringen Sie uns raus hier!
Wir können doch Hartmann nicht hier lassen. Raus, los!
Kommando an Panzer 3. Rücken Sie zur vorgeschobenen Basis vor. Zerstören Sie sämtliche Unterlagen über unsere Truppenbewegungen und stoßen Sie an der Kathedrale zum Rest unserer Streitkräfte.
Verstanden. Oberkommando.
Oberkommando Ende.
Sie wissen, was Sie zu tun haben, Kerz.
To answer your question, Captain Shield, I am well. Thank you very much for asking. And I'm sorry I didn't realize that before. Reach the AA gun on foot without alerting enemies, and reach the documents without alerting any enemies. Something tells me that is difficult to do in a panzerkampfwagen.
Panzer! Guter Schuss!
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
Noch ein Treffer und das war's! Scheiße! Verflucht! Melde volle Kampfbereitschaft, Kommandant! Warum kann er nicht einfach Ja sagen?
Yeah, Domi, I have to assume this is for a later part in the mission. This is still a great looking game. It plays very different, but it's neat. I wonder if you get to play one of these in multiplayer. See, I saved that tree, Domi. Are you proud of me?
Panzerknacker! Deckung, schnell! Scheiße! Komm schon, Stefan, das ist jetzt echt kein guter Zeitpunkt.
Können Sie es reparieren?
Vielleicht. Dauert aber eine Weile.
Was ist mit dem Panzerknacker?
Gerd, bringen Sie Stefan wieder zum Laufen. Ich schlage mich zu den Flugabwehrgeschützen durch.
Du bist verrückt, Peter!
Actually, I don't even know if I got the achievement. So it just occurred to me, I don't even know if I got the achievement for making it.
Außerhalb des Panzers war die Welt unmittelbarer. Der Geruch von Blut und Tod. Ohne meine stählerne Hülle unterschied mich nichts von den Leichen in den Ruinen. Ich war keine gedankenlose, allmächtige Maschine, sondern einfach nur ein verwundbarer Mann voller Fehler.
Oh, so there are invisible walls. Anyway, so I don't remember if this was in the prologue or not, but one of the interesting things about these is that they were incredibly fearsome. But apparently these treads had a bad habit of like falling off. I mean, in fairness, Captain Shield, I am playing a member of the Third Reich. I'm not entirely sure destroying trees is the worst thing this character has done. Let's see if I can get by with the... Okay, what are my options here? It's a bit much, don't you think?
Played a game once, lost my socks. I'm gonna bet with the clothes again, I'll tell you that much.
So here's a question for you guys. I know I haven't had much to say other than just sort of reacting to being in a big fearsome tank for a while. What do you guys know about World War II? That seems like a letter. That is not a letter. Oh crap. He saw me. Oh, they've all seen me. Yeah, there's no way I'm getting through this. Yeah, it's an interesting choice. So, I mean, so it's really interesting. There is a YouTuber who I rather like. Oh, that's a neat one. I rather like this YouTuber, Jack Frags. I think he does some pretty good content, particularly with regards to Battlefield. He is a very big fan of Battlefield 5.
Deckung, schnell! Vorsicht!
Yeah, something tells me
Was ist mit dem Panzerknacker?
Bringen Sie Stefan.
I think this is a bug.
Ich schlage mich zu den Flugabwehrgeschützen durch.
Du bist verrückt, Peter!
Außerhalb des Panzers war die Welt unmittelbarer. Der Geruch von Blut und Tod. Ohne meine stählerne Hülle unterschied mich nichts von den Leichen in den Ruinen. Ich war keine gedankenlose, allmächtige Maschine, sondern einfach nur ein verwundbarer Mann voller Fehler.
So this may not work because I don't actually have the objective, but I'm gonna try this. Jesus. So, Jack Frags seemed to like the gameplay of Battlefield 5, but he did sort of he had a couple of what? Yeah, this is like this is totally reset the mission. Early versions of the Shermans had a habit of catching fire. Oh, okay, never mind. Oh wow, I just got reset. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll work with this. Oh crap, that's right.
Vorsicht! Sie sind in diesem Gebäude! Fahrzeug, da!
So, the one thing he did say, he sort of acknowledged that there was a lack of enthusiasm for the game because of that opening trailer. And whether or not there is that, case for... So here's the biggest thing, is that I think the reaction to the trailer is kind of ridiculous, but I also don't want to say that all of it is attributable to misogyny. Some of it... some of it can be, for whatever reason, the game that I am playing and enjoying was not portrayed through that
Bringen Sie Stefan wieder
video.
Lauf. Ich schlage mich zu den Flugabwehrgeschützen.
No, you don't have to see that cutscene again, Domi. Okay, hopefully I don't need to...
Außerhalb des Panzers war die Welt unmittelbarer. Der Geruch von Blut und Tod. Ohne meine stählerne Hülle unterschied mich nichts von den Leichen in den Ruinen. Ich war keine gedankenlose, allmächtige Maschine, sondern einfach nur ein verwundbarer Mann voller Fehler.
So I do kind of want to see what's on the other side. Oh no, if there's a column of tanks coming through, it's a bit much. Yeah, they detected me. So yeah, I think that's a more sort of even-handed way of saying it. I mean, it could just be, silently approving of the outrage over it. I think being mad about women being in the game is dumb. But I think being able to say it's like, I don't see how this is like the Battlefield game that I sort of know and love. I think that's a fair criticism. I was kind of interested in the game from the original trailer, but I'm willing to accept that people may have lost their enthusiasm for reasons that have nothing to do with whether or not it was a woman in the trailer. But the point that he made in his video review was that the perceptions of the game are very different from the reality of it. That the reality of it is that it's a very good game, and I agree with him in that regard. The one thing that I disagree with him, though, is he was talking about how, in his opinion, it would have been better and it would have served the fans better if they didn't go with this creative decision to do the untold stories of World War II, and that instead it would be sort of Battlefield, like all the good old-fashioned stories that storming of the beaches of Normandy and the Pacific Theater and all that, in a modern engine. And the funny thing is that I actually really like this decision to do the unseen and untold stories of World War II. And it's for the reasons that I said at the very... Oops. Well, I'm done for.
Hey, get over here!
Apparently I have no ammo. Well, that won't be effective. As much as I'd love to go for the achievement, I think I'm just going to take my lumps and we'll go for the stealth approach later. Oh, by the way, I have heard of Mouse. I've not read it, but I would be very interested in reading it, Domi. Is it one that you would recommend? But yeah, so the thing for me, and what we said at the beginning of this not this particular mission, but at the beginning of the playthrough of Battlefield 5, I rather like this approach because there's, I think, almost 500 World War II games now. And so it raises an important question, and especially with Call of Duty having already done World War II like last year, what more is there to say about World War II in gaming? And part of this is to show it to a new audience, an audience who maybe doesn't want to see Saving Private Ryan the game again, and an audience that might, and more importantly, an audience that is maybe already familiar with World War II. Ooh, this is a neat possibility. So an audience that might already be familiar with a lot of what is, might already be familiar with a lot of the World War II subjects, and maybe want something new, or should hear something new. I like the fact that I became aware of the Senegalese tirailleurs, and I like the fact that I was able to talk about the some of the resistance movements, but also some of the things that are sort of adjacent to these topics, like the Special Operations Executive, which is not directly portrayed in the game. Ah, damn it. Not directly portrayed in the game, but did have a part in things like the Norwegian resistance. So to me, like, these are good features of Battlefield 5. And, I mean, I can totally understand somebody disagreeing with that direction. I think it's a really fresh and an interesting way to do it. And there's nothing saying that in later patches there won't be things like the Pacific Theater. It just seems that they're going for the... it seems like they're going for a chronological order in the sort of the story missions and such. Which is it's a decision I can respect. So, I think the biggest one for me, though, like, there are some dumb... Some of the stuff that I think is kind of dumb is that there seems to be some effort now to do this ex post justification of the, like, so I remember there's I don't normally like talking poorly of other broadcasters, but I know there's this guy Angry Joe, and I think there's a degree of not controversy, but I know some people were mad at him because he sort of characterized the the outrage over Battlefield 5 as being gendered, and I don't think he was wrong in that characterization. I have to seize the anti-air gun. All right. But I know he decided to weigh in on Battlefield 5 and say that the Nordlys story was disrespectful to the people who actually carried out the operation in Norway, which was one of the things that we talked about, that it was not, there was not a mother, like the mother-daughter story, so far as I can tell, did not... What's the rest of the reach the documents without alerting any enemies? Well, yeah, so much for that. So far as I can tell, that did not actually happen, as portrayed in the game. But then again, the stories of Resistance tend to have flavors like that. So I think the idea here is that it's communicating... They're not giving the specifics of a story, but they are giving... Sorry, I think I'm just going to let the action...
Gleichfalls, Peter.
Oh, god damn it, I can't aim.
Treffer bestätigt. Wo kommt das denn her?
Oh yeah, I can afford to repair now because...
So schnell es geht. Ich hab's gleich. Unsere Lenkung fällt gleich aus. Strengen Sie sich gefälligst an.
So...
Stefan, reiß dich zusammen.
The thing that drives me a little nuts about this is that I cannot think of any other World War II game where people have complained about stolen valor when there is a fictional World War II character. It seems to be the fact that the Nordlys story was the one that Angry Joe decided to single out as being a story that was disrespectful to the people who actually carried out the operation. And I can't help but think that that's in response to the fact that he got heat for talking about, talking about some of the backlash. The biggest thing that I can say here, again, one, it would be nice to see some of these standards here, but let's not kid ourselves. I am willing to guess that Angry Joe knew absolutely nothing about the effort to destabilize the German nuclear program before Battlefield 5 came out. And that is the point of this game. That is the point of doing the decision, or of the decision to show the, untold stories of World War II.
Ich musste nur ein wenig basteln, aber das Funkgerät ist hinüber. Großartig. Weiter zur vorgeschobenen Basis. Das ist die Basis. Was jetzt? Geben Sie mir Deckung, wenn möglich. Ich suche die Dokumente.
All right, let's see if I can be a little more stealthy this time. So yeah, it just seems to me, like, in one sense, I think even if there is a conversation that I don't think is particularly enlightened being had around whether or not it is respectful to the people who actually carried out the operations to have a fictionalized account of that story. I think the important thing is that people know about stuff that they didn't know about before. And in that sense, you can't force people to think the quote-unquote right thing, but you can at least give them the opportunity. I mean, again, like, in the end, there are people who complain about this particular story because the German... So, like, let's not kid ourselves. This is not what the German flag looked like. And there are specific reasons why you don't see the swastika in games like this. And there are people who have a really big problem with that. There is a side of me that says, I'm not entirely sure how much I want to keep that kind of person happy. I think if you cannot... Like, if you need your World War II games to have actual swastikas in the area, knowing full well what the laws in Germany are. Admittedly, they've changed recently, but again, I'm just maybe not so convinced that we need to be catering to those people's tastes in games, personally. But again, I think the big thing is that the people who are loud on the internet is one group. But I really do think that there's a group of people now who know more about the world and know more about some of the things surrounding World War II, and particularly these lesser-known events, as a result of them being in the game. And whether they're reacting negatively to it or not, they have that knowledge now. And again, if they use it well, that's great. If they don't use it well, DICE can't take responsibility for every single player's reaction to their game. I just really like the fact that there's stuff that keeps me interested in the game. I'm really messing this up, but... Oh, crap. I think I just blew it. Yeah, I hit my Windows key. You know what? I'm going to restart this checkpoint, because I actually think I can do the stealth here. But yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. So the thing that's so interesting here is that one of the most obvious low-hanging, bits of low-hanging fruit, if you want to do the untold stories of World War II, is a story from the German perspective. And like, look, I don't want to be the guy to have to write that story. I'm not entirely sure I am equipped to write a story that is sensitive to the historical context, and doesn't sanitize things too much. But I'm pretty engaged in this so far. Like, I'm enjoying this. So let me just catch up a little bit with what's being said in chat. So I think I like this idea better too. There's so much content about battles set in England, France already. Yeah, exactly. You've never played Battlefield though. Well, I mean, Battlefield hasn't been in World War II since the very beginning of the series. The first one was like Battlefield 1942. And then I think a lot of them are more like science fiction and more modern warfare kind of games. Like Battlefield 3 and 4 are definitely modern settings. Battlefield 4 has sort of a fictionalized war with China, but one that kind of comes after a military coup. What were we going to say? Yes, Mouse is so good. Was Mouse? It's a historical graphic novel about the author's dad's experience in the Holocaust. It actually got the Pulitzer, even though it's not a traditional book. On one hand, exaggeration and romanticization always happen and help making the story more engaging. On the other hand, you can perfectly see why one can feel disrespected. And you don't have a set opinion on it. Well, yeah, this is the thing. Like, so here's the big thing. I don't think anyone should be walking away from Battlefield 5 saying, I understand the specific events that occurred, in terms of a criminal named Billy Bridger who was recruited into the Special Boat Service. So far as I can tell, there was no Billy Bridger, and he was not enlisted in the Special Boat Service. But we did talk about the Special Operations Executive, and we did talk about the fact that criminals and anarchists and all of these other people who would not normally be permitted in the armed forces being called up in England. And I also specifically talked about some of the ideas about I also specifically talked about why that's somewhat unique to the democracies. I mean, this is one of the big things. Like, I like harping on the women thing just because it happens to be like the personification of a really whiny element of the gaming populace. I'm gonna.
Sure, there was something there.
Going for it. Oh, I screwed up. Oh, crap. I pushed the wrong button. Yeah, I mean, I like harping on this just because I think it's a perfect example of people being really dumb. And it's a really obvious case to deal with. Like, if you're such a big, strong man that you're threatened by the presence of a woman in your Battlefield game, I don't know what to say to you. Like, but on the other hand, let me just take a second. People not knowing about stuff that they didn't know before is why you like Battlefield, going into the untold stories. Yeah, well, that's just it. And again, like, the one problem is that if somebody is going to be taking this game and saying, here is a story, here is something that actually happened, quite literally, that this is a documentary of a game, that's not great. And the question is, what is DICE's responsibility here? The one thing that we know for sure is that this business about saying that women did not serve in a combat role in World War II is not factual. Like, that, people who are claiming that do not understand the circumstances of women in World War II. And again, on Twitter, I covered a few different ways that you could actually justify that choice in... This is going to get a little tricky for me, but... Oh yeah, he's gonna see me. I'm gonna try and get him to... I think I just alerted him to where I am.
No, right.
But yeah, I mean, one of the big things about the women in World War II thing is that there's an interesting story to be told in terms of what side had women serve. Because as I've always said, the one weird thing for me in the case of the playing the Germans in the game is that you do see women soldiers on the German side, and so far as I can tell, that didn't happen. And I mean, again, you don't need to know that much about Germany around that time to understand why that's weird. Now again, I'm not particularly upset by it, but I think one of the things that frustrated me the most about that whole dialogue, if it can be called that...
Wouldn't mind hearing your name on the radio right now.
Oof, yeah,
Get my mind off of this place.
I know there's a guy in this area here. I'm just hoping that I can get by without him spying me. I think one of the things that bothers me the most about that dialogue is that it carries with it this assumption that people already know all the facts. And then when someone like Patrick Soderlund turns around and says that they're not educated, he does have a point when he says that. Like, these people don't know what they're talking about. Okay, hopefully I can maybe pull his attention long enough to... Yeah, the big thing is that, like, obviously on these playthroughs, I've spent a lot of time talking about whiny guys on the internet, and I don't think that's the majority of the Battlefield audience. In the end, we're left with a decision that says, you know, DICE went for a certain direction with this game. It's one that I think has led to some particularly interesting stories. It's one that's not for everyone. Because again, like when there's somebody like Jack Frags, who I normally enjoy watching the content from, and he says that he was hoping for something that's a little bit more like, you know, the traditional Battlefield games, I need to listen. I think that's going to screw my achievement, but... Oh yeah, he totally saw me. Oh wow. Well, I deserve to blow it on that one. I should not have hit. I should not have hit. I should not have hit reload. So yeah, I mean, clearly there's a very, you know, there's a dedicated part of the fan base that did not like this direction of Untold Stories of World War II. I think to a certain extent, like, okay, so I'll put it to you this way. Like, I am in the demographic where I'm probably somewhere roughly around Jack Fragg's age. You know, obviously I know some of the, you know, some of the precedents in terms of like World War II games. I have my favorite, I guess the biggest thing I can say is like, I've been around the block. And to a certain extent, I kind of think there is a certain point where I need to say, like, I need to get out of the way and let a new generation of gamers have some new experiences. And whether that is in the form of, you know, more diversity in terms of the types of characters that are being portrayed, or different kinds of stories being told. There's lots of different things that can emerge. But personally, I do not like a criticism of a video game that basically says it's not like the things that I personally like. It's not like how I remember video games used to be. I think that's just a really uninteresting way of engaging with video games. Because the other thing is that the good old days they're never the good old days. Like, the stuff that you remember is not as good. I mean, I tend to notice this with Dark Souls, right? Like, people talk about Dark Souls as if there is some, like, you know, so if you played Demon Souls first, that was the best one. If you played Dark Souls 1 first, that was the best one. If you played, if you played Dark Souls 2, that was the best one for you. Because you're only ever going to be able to get that experience once. Like, once you have that, you're never going to be able to sort of relive that first time you played something like that. And that's fine. I just don't necessarily think that other people's enjoyment of games should be held hostage to your personal feelings about what, you know, what represents good gaming, for lack of a better term. And I think that's why I've been enjoying Battlefield 5. Like, it's a good game and it shows me something new, and I definitely value novelty more than just sort of retreading the old ground. Okay, so yeah, that guy can see me. Oh, damn it, I didn't know I could reload. Anyways, some guys legit think that the gaming community was invented by men and that women intruded into the community when it got cool or whatever. Yep. Nostalgia can make things feel better than they are, and I guess that's a tendency of humankind. It happens with people too. Yeah, it definitely does. But I mean, all of this was just a way of returning to the point that you said, which is, you know, one of the really obvious places to go for Untold Stories of World War II is the German side, because that is a hard storytelling problem. Like, how do you acknowledge what happened while also okay, I'm going to try and paint as many of these as I can, because I know there's going to be somebody who triggers. There we go. You know, how do you acknowledge what happened while still having sort of a sympathetic and meaningful story being told. There's plenty of them. I mean, you know, there's the Tom Cruise movie Valkyrie, which talks about von Stauffenberg and the attempt to assassinate Hitler.
I don't damn well know.
Over here, maybe?
You know, obviously, figures like Rommel are a subject of, you know, of interest to some people. There is fairly rich material if you want to find it. Yeah, I don't know how I do these takedowns. Because this guy's guarding the door. That guy's guarding him. Yeah, well, and I think that's just it. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make the most of something that you know already works.
Plane flies over. American. Green plane. British. No aircraft.
Ooh. You know, like, clearly we have sequels and we have, you know, we have franchises in that for a reason. There's stuff that clearly works and you don't always need to reinvent the wheel. I just happen to think that it's really interesting when people find a fresh new take on something that you sort of thought had been covered as well as it possibly could have. I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try and lead this guy out with more of these lures.
Someone there? Know what they say? Anything silver airplane flight. Hold your horses.
So I got to go pretty quick once he turns around, but
This war is gonna change things. Not just all the destruction, but, you know, it's gonna change
I don't think I can pull this off.
Well, what?
Damn it!
I need to reach him.
Oh, I did not know there was another guy there. That was my bad. I haven't seen The Incredibles 2. But yeah, I don't know. I guess the biggest thing for me is like... That's a really neat quote. I'm curious if I can get that, if I already have that letter. Yeah, I do have the letter. So support guy should come to help his buddy. The achievement is for no one to see but you. What do you mean by that, Domi? The achievement, basically, I need to destroy the documents without being detected. I don't know if being detected at any point sort of invalidates it, or if I need like just one successful run, but... So what I would normally like to do here is go as far back as I possibly can. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, so his buddy noticed. But I think that's enough for me to... Okay. So I gotta be careful, but I should be able to make this count. It doesn't have to be Julius Caesar style. It just happens to be one of the better stealth methods. So this guy's, I believe, on his own. I didn't necessarily need to use the gun there, but obviously some distance is kind of preferred. No way. I'm so mad at that. I genuinely thought that was the last of them. Anyways, I know how to do this now. So clearly at range from the courtyard is... Oop. I don't know if he's going to go hunting for me. I mean, Pixar's generally got a good track record, but I have not seen as many as I would like, so I'm not always in a state to be able to speak with authority. Anyways, it did seem like there wasn't a lot of familiarity with World War II. One of the things that I mean, personally, one of the things I would like to see is representation of Canadians, because the liberation of the Netherlands is an event that I think I've mentioned this on stream before, but like in the city that I live. Oh, I got detected. No way. I really thought that I was able to get away with that. Maybe I should go like as far back as I possibly can. Anyway, so we still get tulips from the liberation of the Netherlands in World War II. Now there are other things that happen. So, for instance, we sort of held the royal family in exile. In fact, when the princess was born, the Ottawa hospital was changed into Dutch territory, basically so that she could, kind of for the purposes of citizenship. And the Dutch flag, the flag of the Netherlands, is the only foreign flag to have ever flown over the Peace Tower in Parliament. So, and I mean, I did during one of the system walks, I actually took us through the garden and, both with all the tulips, but also showing the statue, the man with two hats, which has a sister statue in the Netherlands. I think things like that are really great. I mean, I love the fact that there is basically like a bromance between Canada and the Netherlands stemming from that bit of history. Damn it. That would have been... Like, that would have been ideal, save for the fact that I kept my hand down on the shift. Pretty good on those headshots, though, right? Have I ever played a horror game on stream? Quite a few, Domi. Actually, they used to be one of the most popular things that I did. I've played Amnesia, Outlast. What else have I played? I played the demo for Outlast 2. I feel like I'm missing some. That's right. Sit in the corner and think about what you've done.
Did you hear that?
Oh, that's... Come on. That's cheating. You can't just go in a wall like that. I also played Soma. I don't know if that counts as a horror game. Yeah, I haven't actually played all of Outlast 2, though. So I actually know nothing of the story of Outlast 2. Did you know that the Outlast games are Canadian? In fact, not only are they Canadian, they've been made with Canadian government money. At least the first one. So yeah, here are some that I think will surprise you. Assassin's Creed was born in Montreal. Not every game has been made in Canada, but the series originated in Canada and continues to be developed by Ubisoft Montreal. The most recent Far Cry games have been made in Toronto. Clay is based in Vancouver, so games like Don't Starve and Mark of the Ninja. What are some of the other ones that they've done? What is it? Oxygen Not Included. Invisible Ink. Those are Canadian. Brace Yourself Games. So if you like Crypt of the Necrodancer, that's another Canadian one. So I'm gonna be... Oh, this may not go well. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to be careful with this now, because there's going to be guys coming around the corner, I think. Maybe not. Okay, I'm not allowed to screw up now. So yeah, Crypt of the Necrodancer. There is a iPad game that I really enjoy called Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery. That's Canadian. Cuphead. At least major figures in the development are Canadian. I don't know if the full team is. Maybe less surprising that, you know, NHL was made in Canada, but FIFA is also made in Canada. So in terms of like the big studios that are here, EA has a presence in Vancouver, and they have one in Montreal. Obviously, BioWare is Canadian. And always has been, although of course there's now BioWare in Austin as well.
Jetzt zurück zu Stefan.
After all that effort, it doesn't give me credit. Do Canadians even like football? I mean, they do. I'm not crazy about it personally, but what are some of the other ones that are made here? So I mean, like obviously stuff at EA Motive, you know, EA Vancouver, which tends to be very sports focused. I know at least parts of the new Star Wars game, the one that was canceled, there's at least a portion of it which was going to be made in Canada. Okay, so they haven't found me yet. I think I'm just going to employ the same strategy here and pick them off at a distance. If they detect me, I mean, so much, you know, it's not like the game really has anything to threaten me with now. They already didn't give me the achievement. Ah, I suck.
Good dog.
Well, that probably just killed me. Wait, did he just shout German?
I don't see him. Let's make it quick.
That was 3 headshots. I'm just trying to think if there's any other good example. Oh, Guacamelee is another Canadian game. Dead by Daylight, although personally I don't care for that one that much. Yeah. There are quite a few Canadian games. This is not Canadian. This is Swedish.
Erledigt. Nichts wie weg hier.
I'm gonna guess I probably can't go through those. Keep Talking Nobody Explodes is not only Canadian, it's actually made in the city that I live in. You missed.
Vorrücken und angreifen.
Ah, suicide tanks!
12 Uhr! Feuer! Feuer! Unsere Panzerung wird schwächer. Beeilung, Kerz. Nur noch eine Sekunde.
Oh, Darkest Dungeon. Actually, that's a tough call. Because I think Tyler Sigmund is
Feindpanzer!
American. At least a substantial portion of the Darkest Dungeon team is Canadian. Or has ties to Canada, I'll say. Sword of the Stars, The Pit is another one. Behavior is not the best company. Oh yeah, I mean, so I have to acknowledge a lot of people I know really, hey, I don't know if that's a cat or a dog. I think a dog.
Hartmann? Dieser Idiot! Halten Sie den Mund. Er hat seine Pflicht getan, wie befohlen. Seine Pflicht? Nein, er war ein Verräter.
Einer von uns.
Fahren Sie weiter zum Hauptquartier.
Wo sind die? Wo sind die Verteidigungsstellungen? Kommandant, was ist hier los?
Ich werde es herausfinden. Und Sie reißen sich zusammen, Schröder.
Oh mein Gott. Es geht alles den Bach runter. Mensch, Peter, was machen wir denn jetzt?
Wo ist jetzt die große Verteidigung? Hier sollte sie doch sein.
Wir sind allein. Bleiben Sie, wo Sie sind. Ich besorge uns ein intaktes Funkgerät.
Okay, kill a Calliope tank from less than 30 meters away and complete the chapter without repairing. I really like the setup that they have between Mueller and I don't recall the guy's name, but obviously the really young the gunner. Because of course you have this idea of somebody who can remember a world before before the Reich, and obviously somebody who has been the subject of indoctrination at a particularly formative time.
Sobald meine Männer in Sicherheit sein würden, würde ich Zeit haben, über alles nachzudenken und die Lage zu bewerten. Das redete ich mir jedenfalls ein. Damals habe ich meine eigenen Lügen nicht erkannt.
Achtung! Alle mobilen Einsatzkräfte an der Kathedrale! Verteidigen Sie den Brückenkopf um jeden Preis! Lassen Sie niemanden vorbei! Für Deutschland! Wir sind hier, um Deutschland zu verteidigen!
Verflucht! Sind Sie verrückt? Ruhe! Alle! In Bewegung bleiben oder Deckung suchen!
I really want to get that Calliope from less than 30 away. I also don't know which one the Calliope is. Let's take a minute and see if I can find out. Ah, okay.
Wo ist jetzt die große Verteidigung? Hier sollte sie doch sein.
Wir sind allein. Bleiben Sie, wo Sie sind. Ich besorge uns ein intaktes Funkgerät.
It's a cool moment, though. So those aren't the Calliopes. The Calliopes are the ones that seem to shoot the rockets.
Sein würden, würde ich Zeit haben, über alles nachzudenken, die Lage zu bewerten. Das redete ich mir jedenfalls ein. Damals habe ich meine eigenen Lügen nicht erkannt.
Man, I'm still bleeding followers.
Achtung, Achtung! Alle Truppen, die den Fluss noch nicht überquert haben, müssen den Rückzug mit allen Mitteln sichern. Lassen Sie niemanden auf die Brücke. Halten Sie die Position an der Kathedrale.
Für Deutschland! Wir sind hier, um Deutschland zu verteidigen!
Verflucht! Sind Sie verrückt? Ruhe! Alle! In Bewegung bleiben oder Deckung suchen!
Irgendwelche Befehle, Kommandant? Treffer bestätigt!
Scheiße! Vollgas voraus und Feuer erwidert! Da sind noch mehr! Durchhalten!
This is probably gonna sting. Hopefully it's a Calliope, though. Nope. There's the Calliope. Oh, damn it. That wasn't in the right spot.
Das Ziel bewegt sich noch!
Again, I'm trying to keep the heavy armor facing them. So I'm gonna charge after this guy. And we'll see if we can get the...
Peter! Wir sind in der Unterzahl! Wir können nicht
Ah, come on.
Als Maulverräter!
There we go.
Wir dürfen uns nicht ergeben! Wir müssen kämpfen! Sie nehmen Stefan auseinander!
I don't think there's any way I'm getting out of this, but... at the very least, I got the Calliope, so I don't need to try doing that again. So I'm gonna try where I can to sort of peek out and get a shot off. The thing is, I'm sort of surrounded now, so... and I think it's only gonna take one shot to do me in.
Was ist los?
Yeah. I'm probably gonna have to redo that. Nope, nope, here we go.
Unterzahl! Wir können nicht gewinnen! Als Maulverräter!
ergeben. Wir müssen kämpfen. Habe sich Kontakt zu einem Schirmpanzer.
So again, I'm trying to keep buildings between me and the targets, just to give me a little bit of a extra survivability. So this one's going to be a little trickier. Okay. So I'm basically going to shift from this side to the other, and hopefully we can...
Treffer bestätigt.
Oop.
Schuss hat gesessen.
That had to be enough, yeah.
Da sind noch mehr. Durchhalten.
Okay. So I'm leaving my back exposed to a potential spawn point, but I think in this case I'm going to try and commit to the other side of the map, and we'll use the cover accordingly. I'm pretty sure... Yeah, I screwed up. Okay, so I'll do my best with what I got here, but...
Unsere Lenkung fällt gleich ab.
Die Panzerung hat gehalten. Beschuss fortsetzen.
Alright, so it's a Calliope. So I think the trick on this one's going to be, if I'm going to win, it's got to be using this cover more effectively. Nope. Turns out there are too many guys. I think the real dilemma here is going to be whether or not I actually get the point after trying so many times.
Sie sind getroffen, fahren aber noch.
Der macht keinen Mucks mehr.
Okay, so against all odds, apparently I have not taken damage yet. So I'm going to stop tempting fate, and we're going to charge the guys down on this end.
Kein Durchschlag. Feuer erwidern.
Okay, good news. Now the problem is they're spreading out a little bit. Let's see if I can... Actually, it seems like they have a bit of a problem hitting me from a distance, so this might not be a terrible idea. I'm gonna peek around the corner with these guys. Ow, trap.
Stefan, geht's gut?
Alle Stationen überprüfen und reparieren. Schnell. Die werden sicher nochmal angreifen. Alle Mann auf ihre Positionen.
Yeah, no worries, Domi. I have a feeling that I'm still gonna be working. Working on this encounter when you come back. Oh!
Wir haben uns markiert in Deckung. Schnell. Zur Brücke, los. Wir können sie nicht mehr aufhalten.
Apparently the game had mercy? God, this is a beautiful game. I gotta get out of here though.
Peter, wenn die so weitermachen, haben wir
This is definitely not the right way.
Wir sind getroffen!
I will admit, out of all of the maps, this is the one that I find I'm finding it easy to get lost.
Gerd, fahren Sie weiter, sonst könnte der nächste Treffer der letzte sein.
Scheiße! Die Panzerung bricht!
Okay.
Noch einen Treffer überleben wir nicht. Tun Sie, wofür Sie ausgebildet wurden.
I have a feeling this is just going to be a training exercise while I figure out where the exit is.
Holen Sie uns Deckung. Schnell. Gerd, fahren Sie weiter, sonst könnte der nächste Treffer der letzte sein. Noch einen Treffer überleben wir nicht. Tun Sie, wofür Sie ausgebildet wurden.
There we go. Hey, I did get the achievement. Oh, they did include it.
Die haben uns verraten. Die haben die Brücke gesprengt. Die wollen uns hier verrecken lassen.
Das weißt du nicht, Kerz. Komm, wir müssen jetzt...
Was? Stärke zeigen. Hä? Ach Gott. Sieh dich doch um, Peter. Gott, steh uns bei. Alles, woran wir geglaubt haben. Alles, was wir dafür getan haben. Es ist vorbei.
Nein, Kerz. Komm. Tu das nicht, Kerz.
Peter, es ist vorbei.
Er war ein Verräter.
Kerz! Kerz!
Ich weiß, er war ihr Freund. Aber er ist desertiert. Gemeinsam sind wir stärker, richtig? Die Schwachen überleben nicht. Das waren doch ihre Worte, oder? Sagen Sie es! War das nicht so? Just give up, damn it! Ich hab nicht geglaubt! Sie sollten zurück in den Panzer steigen!
The spring of 1945 saw the German Reich pushed back to its former borders. Hungry citizens, crippled production, an industry of death. But no no surrender. We will not capitulate. No, never. We may be destroyed, but if we are, we shall drag the world with us. A world in flames. German soldiers fought under an oath of unconditional obedience to their leader. Most did exactly what they were told. The order to fight to the end would cost lives measured in the millions. Murderers are not monsters, they're men, and that's the most frightening thing about them. Alice Sebold. That, I thought, was a pretty remarkable story. But let's do the epilogue. The empires of the future are the empires of the mind.
I was a good soldier. One among many. Firing cruel weapons at strangers in different colored uniforms. In countries that didn't belong to any of us. God help us all. The wheels of war are still turning. Throttles set. Engines roaring, armed, fueled, in motion. But against all of that horror, one thing gives me hope. I have glimpsed another world. A world where humanity shines brightly, rising from the ashes of these dark times. Burning with hope, it illuminates a path through this wreckage. A path to somewhere better.
It just occurred to me that Domi might have been out of the stream when we got to the ending. I think we can probably redo it by chapter. So let's just take a quick look. So the tiger's bite, we got everything. Turning point. Yeah, they didn't give me credit for reaching the documents or the AA gun. This one we can probably do again. So I think probably what I'll do if Domi did miss it, I'll redo the ending. But I'll probably just go to just talking for the end of the stream, and we'll talk about the episode. But we'll do the letter we found. Dear sirs, I feel that it is my civic duty to report my upstairs neighbor Eric to you. I am certain that he is showing behaviors that do not fit with our ideals. When he moved in, he seemed like a decent, quiet young man, a little old to be unmarried perhaps, but very courteous, and my wife and I thought he probably had a sweetheart. Sir, we have never seen her, but we've heard unusual modern music playing from his apartment at all hours of the night. I went up to ask him to turn it down, and I found him sat at nearly midnight with a male companion. He turned the music down, but not off. This happened again the following weekend. I banged on the ceiling loudly with a broom handle to stop me from having to go back upstairs, as it was 9 p.m. and I was dressed in my night clothes, and had had my cocoa. But rudely he ignored me, and I was forced to go up to confront him and his modern noise again, where I found another male companion. This has happened most weekend evenings since, with one occasion where he turned his music back up. My wife is quite certain that she has heard him comparing me unfavorably to our leader after the last incident, which I'm sure you will agree is disrespectful to both of us. Perhaps you might speak with him. I'm sure you wouldn't find much of interest should you decide. I'm sure you would find much of interest should you decide to pay him a visit. Yours faithfully, Mr. J. Hallervorden. But yeah, I agree with you, Captain Shield. It did feel like this was a shorter episode out of everything. I should briefly mention too, I know I really appreciate the folks who have stayed for this, but we're probably going to be there's not going to be any new gameplay. We'll probably redo some moments from the acts here. In fact, you know what? I think I'll just go to just chatting now, because I think it'd be nice to digest the episode that we've just seen. So let me update that information. But we'll, I don't know. Even though it's shorter, I thought it was a pretty impactful story. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I definitely like the take that they went with that. So I guess the first question I have is, for those of you who are here, what did you think of the? What did you guys think of the episode? I wonder if I can get see if I can get to the documents. I do want to, actually, I was thinking a little bit about this, especially after the epilogue. And I do have a bit that I want to say after this episode, but I figure it'd be nice to have some of the regulars who are around, and I'll send a quick message to Sin.
Schäden überprüfen.
Jawohl.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things that I like about it.
Statusbericht. Hier werden wir uns nicht lange halten können. Jemand muss da raus uns einen Weg suchen.
Schicken Sie Hartmann.
Wovon zur Hölle reden Sie da? Der Mann ist nicht in der Verfassung.
Vertrauen Sie auf unsere Stärke. Das waren doch eure Worte, oder? Keine Schwäche, keine Sentimentalitäten.
Oh, Herrgott nochmal.
Sie sind so wichtig. Das können wir nicht riskieren. Und ich bediene das Geschütz.
Dann mache ich das eben.
Nein, Sie müssen fahren. Aber Hartmann, der ist doch eh angeschlagen. Austauschbar.
Oh, I thought I did shield.
Hartmann!
Ja?
Steigen Sie aus dem Panzer. Suchen Sie uns da draußen einen Weg ins Freie.
Herrgott nochmal, Müller, nein, der Mann ist nicht in der Verfassung.
Bitte, Peter. Ich kann wirklich...
Raus aus dem Panzer, Hartmann. Ich möchte, dass Sie Ihre Pflicht tun. Das gilt für jeden hier.
Hey, Domi. We actually finished the episode, so I was going to go for one of the achievements, and then I figured I would... the conclusion shouldn't take too long, so I figured we would do that first, and then we could have our post-game chat. So I am going to make one effort on the stealth part here. And if it doesn't turn out, we'll just go back to the ending.
Desertiert?
Das wissen Sie doch gar nicht.
Actually, you know what? If I...
Hören Sie das?
Bewegung auf 9 Uhr.
Und auf 12 Uhr.
Bringen Sie uns raus hier!
Wir können doch Hartmann nicht hier lassen. Raus, los!
Rücken Sie zur vorgeschobenen Basis vor. Zerstören Sie sämtliche Unterlagen über unsere Truppenbewegungen.
Actually, I guess this is the better question. Do you guys want to see this again? Yeah, okay. We'll go from here.
Sie wissen, was Sie zu tun haben, Kerz.
I'll switch this back to Battlefield 5, and then I'll just make it quick. We're not playing on hardcore difficulty anymore, so this should be quite a bit more straightforward.
Sie sind getroffen, fahren aber noch. Weiter auf das Zielfeuer. Schade mit Raketen ab.
Oh, I screwed up.
Feindbeschuss! Verflucht! Hinter uns! Feuer erwidert! Melde volle Kampfbereitschaft, Kommandant! Kann er nicht einfach Ja sagen? Kanone! Seht ihr sie? Uhr! Los! Panzerkampfwagen! Deckung, schnell!
Scheiße! Komm schon, Stefan, das ist jetzt echt kein guter Zeitpunkt.
Können Sie es reparieren?
Vielleicht. Dauert aber eine Weile.
Was ist mit dem Panzerknacker?
Gerz, bringen Sie Stefan wieder zum Laufen.
I am still Canadian.
Flugabwehrgeschützen durch.
Du bist verrückt, Peter.
Okay, let's see if I can
Außerhalb des
stealth
Panzers
this.
war die Welt unmittelbarer. Der Geruch von Blut und Tod. Ohne meine stählerne Hülle unterschied mich nichts von den Leichen in den Ruinen. Ich war keine gedankenlose, allmächtige Maschine, sondern einfach nur ein verwundbarer Mann voller Fehler.
I don't want to spend too much time, like... Oops. I don't want to spend too much time, like, trying to sneak around with everything, but I have a bit of an idea about what I'm going to do here, so... Let's start by... Okay. Nice. Ah, damn it. Oh, I switched out my good gun. Okay, but if I'm doing it stealthy, it shouldn't matter. Damn it! I'm pretty sure that's enough to... I'm pretty sure that's enough to kill it. Am I still an economist? I'll leave that to somebody else. I feel like that would have worked pretty well overall. Okay. Okay, so this is the real dilemma here. Damn it! If I can't get it this time, I think what I'll do is I'll just move ahead to the third chapter and we'll wrap it up there because I know Domi saw it. But or actually no, you know what? If I blow it, I'll just make sure I carry on with the mission. Okay, so. Come on, Peter, you can do it.
What's going on? Nothing yet.
Eric, you're out.
So again, I want this guy to cool off before I go any further. I finished Amnesia twice, Captain Shield. Once on stream. Okay. So the anti-air gun here is going to be really tricky to get to stealthily. I'm curious if I need to, like, reach it, or if I actually need to, like, get in and shoot at stuff in there, because that's those are two very different prospects. I bet I can probably, like, get in in proximity to. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to mount the thing in time. Okay, so that's definitely armor right here. Oh, yep. I hope this does not come over the sandbags. So I wonder if I can paint this thing. Yes, I can. I'm a little worried about the fact that it's red. I don't know if that means that it's detected me or not, but I'm gonna do my best with this. Again, the aim here is gonna be to try and get to the AA gun so that I can get the achievement. So this is going to be the hard bit. And they really want me to get right up in there, huh? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over the edge and hop in the thing, but I got to wait for this guy to get by first. Nailed it! This is 100% the intended use of AA guns. This game is amazing on medium. Oh, and there's a tank. Oh, well, this is a problem. God, I'm bad at this. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Leave me alone!
Bin einfach dem Feuerwerk gefolgt. Schuss hat gesessen. Ziel kein Problem.
Da, in dem Gebäude!
By the way, I really like the sound of.
Ich arbeite dran.
That's a really nice gift that you came up with, Captain Shield. I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge that before. I was just a little busy winning the war. And what was the... hang on, so 2/4 of the streamers you watch have finished it? Oh, Amnesia you mean.
Stefan ist kampfbereit, aber das Funkgerät hat den Geist aufgegeben.
Fürs Erste kommen wir auch ohne zurecht. Bringen Sie uns zur vorgeschobenen Basis. Wir haben noch was zu erledigen.
Alright, this is familiar.
Was jetzt?
Geben Sie mir Deckung, wenn möglich. Ich suche die Dokumente.
Okay. So again, I'm gonna try and not to make a hash out of this like last time. It's a little unkind of them to hide the soldiers here. Okay. Oop, I'm pretty sure I just triggered someone. Is that guy supposed to be there? It's tempting to go for this, but I need him to commit one direction or another. Okay, so this will trigger him to come by. You don't know what Goethe is either? He's a very famous German author.
I know it was something.
This might alert him to where I am. Okay, I think I can make it. Oh, I am so lucky that the AI decided to go dumb on that. Okay, now I'm gonna do something insanely reckless, but I think I can make it work. So I gotta be careful on the patrols, but I'm pretty sure in the time it takes this guy to turn around, I can take out his buddy. Goethe actually has a bunch of romantic, or at the very least lustful poetry that I have a collection of. Oh, I think I blew it. Alright, well, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Ah, damn it. Okay, did get the letter. 10 out of 10 pun. For me to be truly stealthy, I need to system walk. I'm just going to take a minute to see if there's any letters in this area. Nope. There is ammo. So my new question now is whether or not I would have been able to get away with my my shot like the method that I used last time.
Ich denke, das war's. Erledigt. Nichts wie weg hier.
I should not be taking that many bullets to take out guys on medium, but... So... I think I only have one more achievement and then the letters to go for this. Stars of Young North, that's actually, so that's a really interesting one. I think that's the one that sort of made his reputation as a literary figure. And it's one of these examples, I think this is probably a good example of a book, an early book, that caused a moral panic. Because apparently there were a number of sort of copycat suicides as a result of that book, or at the very least they bared this similarity to the way, or to a suicide that happens in the book itself. So I guess it's the Grand Theft Auto of German literary works.
Der macht keinen Mucks mehr.
Kerz, aufpassen!
Tut mir leid, ist ziemlich holprig hier.
Oh wait, that's a dead tank, never mind. I was just testing my team's alertness. Doge. Excuse me. The Exception, thank you very much for bringing a little light to this really dark scene. I really appreciate 11 months in a row. Thank you so much for that. I know you don't get to watch the stream all the time, but I really do appreciate your continued support. Thank you for that. I hope you're enjoying this stream, by the way. I am, both in terms of my overall state and my finger is beginning to heal. But my heart will never recover from this scene.
Hartmann? Dieser Idiot!
Halten Sie den Mund. Er hat seine Pflicht getan, wie befohlen.
Seine Pflicht? Nein, er war ein Verräter.
Einer von uns.
Fahren Sie weiter zum Hauptquartier.
May I ask where the B emote comes from, the exception? I'm very happy to see you use the Epicurus one, of course.
Wo sind die? Wo sind die Verteidigungsstellungen? Kommandant, was ist hier los?
Ich werde es herausfinden. Und Sie reißen sich zusammen, Schröder.
Oh, this game's wonderful, the exception. This is a bit of a shorter episode. We've actually beaten it, but I'm playing it on medium again because I finished it while Domi was away.
Es geht alles den Bach runter.
But yeah, I got smashed in an elevator door. It's like such a lame injury to get, but like I type around like 70 or 80 words a minute, so not being able to actually properly type has been debilitating to the work that I do.
Wo ist jetzt die große Verteidigung? Hier sollte sie doch sein.
Wir sind allein. Bleiben Sie, wo Sie sind. Ich besorge uns ein intaktes Funkgerät. Sobald meine Männer in Sicherheit sein würden, würde ich Zeit haben, über alles nachzudenken, die Lage zu bewerten. Das redete ich mir jedenfalls ein. Damals habe ich meine eigenen Lügen nicht erkannt.
Achtung! Alle mobilen Einsatzkräfte an der Kathedrale! Verteidigen Sie den Brückenkopf um jeden Preis! Lassen Sie niemanden vorbei!
Für Deutschland! Wir sind hier, um Deutschland zu verteidigen!
Verflucht! Sind Sie verrückt?
Zurück in den Panzer!
Ruhe! Alle! In Bewegung bleiben oder Deckung suchen!
Was sind die Befehle, Kommandant?
Weiter auf das Ziel feuern!
You know, it would be really nice right now to have somebody to load the shells.
Da sind noch mehr! Durchhalten! Wenden Sie sich gefälligst an!
Nur eine Sekunde!
Not entirely true, Domi. We did want to make sure that you were able to participate in the conversation afterwards, so... I mean, this has been a night where I'm down a follower net, and it's, you know, any night that I have single-digit viewers means that the
Saal, wir können nicht gewinnen!
Als Maulverräter! Wir dürfen
kind of the
uns
reception has
nicht
been less
kämpfen!
than my usual streams.
Aufpassen, Kerz!
But because I don't want to be focused entirely on numbers, I want to make sure that the people who are here to enjoy it are able to get the most out of it. And if that means repeating content that everybody enjoyed so that we can all have a discussion sort of on even terms, I think that's a good use of the time.
Treffer bestätigt!
Okay, so I gotta be careful about the guy behind me. I don't spoil you as much as GOG.
Erneut feuern!
One thing I really do like about not being on hardcore, where like every misstep is punished, I feel like I can do some riskier moves, and like I really get to feel what it's like to drive the tank in this game, and it's really fun. Like, in addition to the fact that this is a good story that I've really enjoyed experiencing, it's just great to be in the Tiger. All right, I gotta be careful. Okay, this is going to be a problem. Oh, why did I expose my backside to the Calliope? I gotta get behind some cover fast. I think we're done. Yeah. My bad. I did get a subscription renewal. That's always appreciated. But yeah, it's just one of these things like, you know, I can remember a time when there would be no question that there would be at least double-digit viewers for the channel, and I am probably at about half the number of subscribers I had at my peak. So it would be wrong to say that like the channel has unquestionably grown over time. Like, I'm definitely in a point where I am lower than where I used to be, but I think it's also important not to just constantly chase, you know, that next viewer. I think it's equally important to, you know, to do stuff for the existing audience. So I know they have a little problem with range, so I should be able to make it.
Legen Sie los! Komm schon! Komm schon!
Music's calmed down, they're not allowed to spawn more enemies. Damn it. Okay, so again, I want to be careful not to show my rear for too long.
Das Ziel ist erledigt. Volltreffer.
Okay, this is a good spot. I'm able to keep my front-facing armor against all the potential targets. So this is the big thing, and I mean, this is true to the Tiger, which is if you have just this insanely heavy tank, which you need to build new weaponry to be able to penetrate, the way you should be using this in the game is to have the, you know, have the heavy armor facing the target, and then basically win sort of the war of attrition. Okay, this is going to be a problem, I think. Alright, let's get out of here. Yeah, well, like I said, Captain Shield, that's why I redo things from the game like Battlefield, because I want to do something that appeals to the people who do show up, not try and get back the people who decided it wasn't for them.
Die haben uns verraten. Die haben die Brücke gesprengt. Die wollen uns hier verrecken lassen.
Das weißt du nicht, Kerz. Komm, wir müssen jetzt...
Was? Stärke zeigen. Hä? Herrgott doch mal. Sieh dich doch um, Peter. Gott, steh uns bei. Alles, woran wir geglaubt haben. Alles, was wir dafür getan haben. Es ist vorbei.
Nein, Kerz. Komm. Tu das nicht, Kerz.
Peter, es ist vorbei.
Er war ein Verräter.
Kerz! Kerz!
Ich weiß, er war ein Freund. Aber er ist desertiert. Gemeinsam sind wir stärker, richtig? Die Schwachen überleben nicht. Das waren doch ihre Worte, oder?
Bei dir
Sagen
nicht.
Sie's! War das nicht so?
Just give up, damn it!
Sie sollen jetzt zurück in den Panzer steigen.
The spring of 1945 saw the German Reich push back to its former borders. Hungry citizens, crippled production, an industry of death. But no surrender. We will not capitulate. No, never. We may be destroyed, but if we are, we shall drag the world with us. A world in flames. German soldiers fought under an oath of unconditional obedience to their leader. Most did exactly what they were told. The order to fight to the end would cost lives measured in the millions. Murderers are not monsters, they're men, and that's the most frightening thing about them. Alice Sebold. So, while you enjoy the epilogue, which will be coming up in a minute, I would love to hear your opinions on that story. And then after the epilogue, I'm going to give my my final thoughts on The Last Tiger.
I was a good soldier. One among many. Firing cruel weapons at strangers in different colored uniforms. In countries that didn't belong to any of us. God help us all. The wheels of war are still turning. Throttles set, engines roaring, armed, fueled, in motion. But against all of that horror, one thing gives me hope. I have glimpsed another world. A world where humanity shines brightly, rising from the ashes of these dark times. Burning with hope, it illuminates a path through this wreckage. A path to somewhere better.
Before I go into the details, does anybody here in chat know who George Marshall was? While I do that, while I get you guys to respond to that, let's talk a little bit about the episode. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I liked all of them. They're all very different flavors as well. So Under No Flag definitely has a really good sense of humor to it. Nordless is a really interesting one, especially because it's actually, I mean, the Nazi officer in that one is also relatively sympathetic. And again, it's probably one of the better examples of a very important story from World War II, but one that's not appreciated. I think Tirailleur probably was definitely the one that punched above its weight the most, because I think in this case, even, again, if the story of Deme is maybe not necessarily one that you pull out of history, the mere fact that people now know about this group of people and the policy of blanchiment in France is probably an important one. And then, of course, The Last Tiger, a chance to see the game, or the war from a German perspective in a really interesting way, was a good one. Okay, that's good to know. I may not talk too much about George Marshall in the tonight, but I'm going to be sure to bring that up later. Well, I'll do what I can. I'll maybe give you a preview, because I'll talk a little bit about the future of Battlefield on the channel. So The Last Tiger, I really like the opening, the story of him as a child, seeing his friend steal something from the shop and his dad telling him that it was just as bad that he was there. That really sets the tone. And just to see the story, I actually really like it because it's almost this bookend to the story from Battlefield 1 about the tank through mud and blood. But what's so interesting about this one, I mean, you have the Tiger, which is just sort of this representation of Germany in World War II, this seemingly unstoppable machine that is crumbling from within. Which is exactly what's happening. I mean, it's no coincidence that this, story takes place in 1945. And it's interesting. I mean, again, I love the fact that you have a character like Peter Müller, who by any rights in any other war story would be a heroic figure, somebody who does what's right. And just all of the characters that are drawn in this one are so interesting. You have, clearly, Hitler Youth, number one in the tank. And just, he is just constant. I think what I love the most, yes, he's definitely portrayed as sort of this force kind of pushing Mueller to do these awful things, sending Hartmann out when he's clearly not ready to go and that, and just showing this tremendous insensitivity to what's going on. But the really important thing is that, at the very beginning of the story, it's set up telling him, it's like, you're giving him the party line then. And, looking for, the kid is ultimately looking for justification for his terrible actions by appealing to Mueller. And then, of course, that final moment at the end, the tank loses its treads, his friend is dead. And clearly, there's nothing left for them. They weren't even told about the bridge being blown up, and his final decision to leave too late. And I mean, in the end, it doesn't necessarily matter who fired that shot, because there's really nothing left for these characters. I liked all of it. And again, it's just nice little, it's just I think a nicely done little story to motivate the different actions. And again, these things really just do wind up being in some ways sort of tutorials for the multiplayer game. That's the majority of time where you're going to be spending it. But I enjoyed spending time in all of these stories. And again, for my part, I tremendously enjoyed being able to go on this ride and being able to sort of see these different perspectives to World War II. I really do think it was the right call to show us something that we hadn't seen before. But I wanted to talk a little bit. So in terms of The Last Tiger, the way, for each of these, in Under No Flag, I talked about the special operations executive, and I talked about what it means to be, or, what the history of criminals in war has been. In Nordless, we got to talk a bit about the Allied efforts to halt the development of a German bomb. In Tirailleurs, we talked specifically about the Senegalese tirailleurs and what it meant, how they were treated and how they, the contribution that they made. And I think the most interesting thing to talk about in The Last Tiger is to say what happens after the war. So you have the First World War, and you have the Treaty of Versailles, you have the humiliation of Germany, a war where it is much harder to say, objectively the Germans are the bad guys and these tremendous aggressors. In World War II, you really can say that, World War II is something that the Axis did to the world. It is much harder to say that about the First World War. The First World War is so difficult to talk about because it's really this very old-fashioned, we're going to try and take over the world kind of a thinking, and just nobody appreciating what technology would do to warfare and the cost that it would have. And, it's not... I'm not saying anything new when people consider the unsatisfactory resolution of World War I, essentially the, Germany taking all of the blame and being hollowed out and humiliated in the Treaty of Versailles, leading to this instability inside of Germany, and ultimately the rise of the Nazi Party and Hitler. And, I mean, this is the big thing, is that, Hitler did achieve his dictatorial control over Germany through entirely legal means. He was voted in, and it was, the Reichstag voted in the emergency powers, and they declared him Führer. And a lot of this was due to the conditions inside of Germany. And Germany seemed unstoppable. They managed to get out of the Depression easier than other nations. France was considered to have the strongest army in the world, and it wasn't just the fact that France was beaten. France was crushed. Nobody expected them to fall that fast, as an absolutely shocking result. And so, really, this is one of the this is the worst possible situation that you can imagine. And so, what do you do in this case? You're trying to come up with a plan. You're trying to win the war, and let's say that there's the expectation that the Allies will be victorious. What do you do about Germany after that? What do you do in the face of a country like this, a force of evil like this? And one of the plans was something known as the Morgenthau Plan. Now, the Morgenthau Plan essentially said that Germany should be completely deindustrialized, that you can't let them have a third chance, that effectively they would go from the economy that they had, and they would be reduced to an agricultural and a light manufacturing economy. And this is actually something that Roosevelt apparently had support for, which disappointed me. It was, I believe, the plan was, I think it was the Quebec Conference where they made for this. But essentially, this is just it, that they're going to dismantle the German economy and turn it into farms and turn it into light manufacturing. Now, imagine that happened. Do you think that perhaps you would wind up in the same situation again? The Nazi Party didn't just come out of nowhere. There is a certain level of unrest and uncertainty and resentment that comes from the conclusion of the war. And the most important thing, of course, is that World War II was incredibly destructive. That there were, one of the reasons why so many of the war memorials of World War II were appended to World War I monuments, it's as much of an economic reason as anything. They simply didn't have the money to build new monuments. And so you have to ask yourself the question, if the conclusion of World War II is going to be this hollowing out of Germany, are you just really setting yourself up for another period in which they turn unstable and there will be yet another conflict? Now, of course, we all live with the benefit of knowing what happened in history. This isn't what happened to Germany. There was a policy of denazification, which essentially involved an entire series of sort of kind of propaganda broadcasts, creating this great sense of shame amongst the German people and giving them this intense sense of responsibility for what happened. And it was abandoned around the 1950s, and it was largely considered to be ineffective. What's more important, though, is what did happen in Europe. And it was something known as the Marshall Plan. Now, one thing I didn't mention about is that the Morgenthau Plan was proposed before the end of World War II. And in fact, it became a propaganda point. Goebbels actually said that the intention of the Allies was to turn Germany into a giant potato field. And essentially the argument here was that, thousands of American lives were lost precisely because it gave sort of a second wind to the German army, realizing that essentially this is the destiny of the country if the Allies do win. But more importantly, consider the world after World War II. It's one that almost immediately goes into the Cold War. And what are the circumstances under which Russia became the Soviet Union? Well, you have sort of the desperation and the economic catastrophe brought on by the First World War and the mismanagement of the Romanovs. Fiscal crises usually sort of herald political crises. And so consider yourself the United States, that you're going to have a role in the shaping of the post-war world. How do you position yourself for a world potentially to your advantage, or a world in which there's going to be order, that there isn't going to be another global conflict. And one in which maybe you can't necessarily rely on the Soviet Union to be this force for good. And this was essentially a task that fell to a man named George Marshall. And the Marshall Plan essentially was for the United States to make a very strong investment in into Europe. That Europe was basically hollowed out through World War II, that there was really nothing there's really nothing left. That, like, people are essentially going to be facing starvation. There's nothing really to build. There's shortages of everything. And the American decision was not to withdraw from the world. The American decision was to pour money into Europe, and particularly into Germany. That the decision here was not that Germany would sort of face what they did in Versailles, but that they would be brought back up onto their feet, and that they would join the global community again. There's a speech that George Marshall gave, and I'll quote it here. "The modern system of the division of labor upon which the exchange of products is based is in danger of breaking down. Aside from the demoralizing effect on the world at large and the possibilities of disturbances arising as a result of the desperation of the people concerned, the consequences to the economy of the United States should be apparent to all. It is logical that the United States should do whatever it is able to do to assist in the return of normal economic health to the world, without which there can be no political stability and no assured peace. Our policy is not directed against any country, but against hunger, poverty, desperation, and chaos. Any government that is willing to assist in recovery will find full cooperation on the part of the United States. Its purpose should be the revival of a working economy in the world, so as to permit the emergence of a political and social conditions in which free institutions can exist." Yes, George Marshall, general. In fact, Marshall is a fascinating figure. Marshall is the one who is responsible for taking the United States from a country which would not meaningfully contribute to World War II to essentially mobilizing it into the force that people recognize for World War II. Apparently, he desperately wanted to command the European theater, something that ultimately fell to General Eisenhower. And apparently one of the reasons why he was not able to command it was not a lack of faith in his abilities, but rather that Roosevelt felt him so indispensable that he needed him in the United States. And so his great wish to command the American forces in Europe was not fulfilled. But this is the most interesting thing to me, is that in the end, the answer is, what do you do after Nazi Germany? And the most interesting thing about it was that they did not repeat the mistakes of the past. That in the end, the decision was that, there's no such thing as the irredeemable country, but instead that the United States would engage, that it would help rebuild economies, and that it would make them part of the world stage again. And it's one that worked very well, particularly for the United States. Again, I mean, there's a reason why it is such a dominant force in the world. It's largely essentially the world that we live in is one that was written by the United States. Most of the foundations for what we relied on, at least until very recently, are largely sort of consequences of the decisions made after the Second World War. So I think that's the thing that probably interests me the most. It doesn't have as much to do with The Last Tiger so much as the question of, what comes next, what comes after. And it's worth mentioning that one group that was particularly opposed to the Marshall Plan was the Soviet Union. And whether this was a recognition on their part that, instability brought about by, by economic difficulty would be more favorable to revolution that would be more aligned with their interests, or whether it was simply the fact that they did not want to see Germany rebuilt, that ultimately they wanted to see their enemy sort of humbled and not able to bring that up again. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously really easy to portray the Soviets as the big bad guys because it's one that's worked for so long. But I definitely think one of the most interesting stories to talk about after The Last Tiger is, what do you do after a Hitler is removed? And it's fascinating. It's the tremendous wisdom and foresight that was required to be able to say, we are going to spend an appalling amount of money making sure that Europe gets back on its feet and that we are able to trade again. It's an absolutely remarkable achievement. And this is just it. I mean, Eisenhower became president. And when I did a poll of everybody inside of chat, nobody knew who George Marshall was. And so sometimes this is, I think, maybe the best way to close out this little series on the war stories is that I definitely did not do George Marshall justice. Maybe that'll be a chat for another time. But this has been about the stories you didn't know about World War II, whether it was the Special Boat Service, whether it was the attempt to disrupt the German nuclear program, the Senegalese tirailleur, the stories of the Tiger and what you do after Nazi Germany. And I suppose my chance tonight was to tell you about a man named George Marshall. And like I said at the beginning of this series, yes, actually that's a very good point, Domi. I haven't even talked about Japan after the war. I think one of the things I'll say is just to reiterate something that I said from the beginning of this series, which was when you see something new in a game like this, and it's kind of the reason, I know I lose followers every time that I say stuff like this, but one of the reasons I keep harping on the whole, people's reaction to the trailer thing is that there's two ways to react to something like this in a World War II game, which is to assume that you know everything and not to engage anywhere beyond that. The other path that you can take is to be shown something that you didn't know about in a game and to use that as an opportunity to sort of pick up that thread and see where you can go with it. Whether it's the Special Boat Service or the Special Operations Executive, whether it's the German nuclear program in Norway and its resistance, the Senegalese tirailleur, finding out what the Tiger tank was, finding out about the Marshall Plan or the Morgenthau Plan and how they went from Morgenthau to the Marshall Plan. If you want another fascinating story, Bletchley Park and the breaking of the German Enigma code. These are stories that you may not necessarily be familiar with, and they're ones that I encourage you to pick up, even if you just do a Wikipedia search. History is full of very interesting events and fascinating people, and you'll find that some of these people resemble you, and some of these people, grew up and had a plan for how their life would go, and circumstances, led them down a different path, and sometimes it was a very tragic one, and sometimes it brought out something in them that they never saw before. But I think that's where I will leave Battlefield 5, is that if you saw something in this that interested you or something that you didn't know about before, this is your chance to pick them up and to go a little bit further. The last thing that I'll close with tonight before we go and host somebody else, what I'm going to do, you notice how quickly we got through The Last Tiger on the medium difficulty. So what I'm going to try and do, and if you guys want to tell me a good day to do that, we're going to go from My Country Calling, Under No Flag, Nordlist, Tirailleur, and The Last Tiger. I'm going to try and do it and the epilogue, of course. I'm going to try and do it in one big go without dying or anything like that, so we can sort of see it as Battlefield 5 the movie. I think we'll do one more on this, and it's going to be just my opportunity to show you all the stories on a lighter difficulty level so I don't get stuck on things. And what I'm going to do as sort of the final little mini lecture at the end, I'm going to give you some stories about some Canadians in World War II. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the stories that I would like to see, or some of the people you may not know from history. And one of them involves a man with one eye who liberated a Dutch town all on his own from the Germans. I'll tell you about a man known as the Minister of Everything. And I will maybe set aside some time so I can tell you more specifically about George Marshall, who is not a Canadian, but I definitely think would be an interesting topic for discussion. But I'm glad to hear that some of you guys do know about the Marshall Plan, because that's a fairly important bit of history. But I am done for tonight, so let's see if we can find somebody to host. There's a few people online, but who should I... You know what? We'll host Kilgore Trout tonight. So Kilgore Trout is playing Hexen 2. It's a 3D version of the old Heretic game, I think. Or maybe, no, I might be wrong on that. You know what? You can see it when you can see it when he gets in here. He's definitely a fun streamer to watch. He plays a lot of classic games. He's an older broadcaster, but he plays a lot of things that he enjoyed when they first came out, and he's definitely got a good attitude, and he's a lot of fun to hang around with. So I hope you guys enjoyed Battlefield 5. Do let me know when would be a good time to do the full Battlefield 5 movie. And more importantly, give me some feedback about what you thought about this stuff. I'll probably be going back to Mass Effect after all of this. But if you guys would like to see a little bit more of the historical side of things, if you'd like me to dedicate some time to talk about some of the topics that I only just briefly touched on, we can definitely do that in the future. As always, I really do appreciate it when you guys let me know about what works for you and what doesn't, because it lets me get some ideas in terms of where to push forward. And yes, very good point, Captain. Thank you. Good luck with your video. And again, thank you everyone for hanging out. I am gonna cut this off and we will head over to Kilgore's. So have a good night. We'll see you next time.